On October 7th, everything shifted when we woke to the news of an attack north of Gaza, where many Israeli civilians were killed and others taken hostages into Gaza. This was followed by a full-scale invasion by the Israeli military into Gaza, adding the already immense suffering of its people. Even before the invasion, we witnessed as Caritas the severe poverty in Gaza slums, and Caritas had been actively working with the community to alleviate some of this hardship. Although Caritas had previously distributed emergency aid kits and engaged our teams across Gaza, the scale of destruction made it impossible to replenish medical supplies. We established a direct support system where the teams in the West Bank and Jerusalem provided mental and psychological support to their colleagues in Gaza. In October and November, all Caritas staff were deeply traumatized by the loss of our colleagues, Viola and Isam. May they rest in peace. In response, we launched a rapid intervention supported by many of our member organizations. Despite feeling overwhelmed, we continued to assist the community in November and December 2023.
Over the past year, Caritas Jérusalem has delivered over 40,000 primary healthcare consultations and assisted more than 4,500 households through multi-purpose cash assistance. Initiatives have included mental health and psychosocial support to over 1,500 beneficiaries, as well as ensuring access to safe drinking water, food, and hygiene assistance. Additionally, Caritas Jerusalem has collaborated with local partners to distribute children's clothing and blankets. In Gaza, Caritas Jerusalem currently has 17 dedicated medical teams stationed at strategic locations and medical points, providing essential healthcare services to communities facing significant challenges. Caritas Jerusalem has successfully sourced medications and medical supplies, including formula milk from Ministry of Health, ANERA, and World Health Organization, while also supporting secondary healthcare facilities. As the regional situation has escalated, Caritas Jerusalem have responded swiftly to health care crisis, offering emergency medical assistance to vulnerable population affected by conflict and displacement. The multi-purpose cash assistance initiatives have enabled families to meet their basic needs while preserving their dignity.
Caritas also worked on an emergency appeal addressing the basic needs in Gaza, with the foresight to include the West Bank and Jerusalem, which were also impacted by the war.
During the past 12 months, we have experienced a great increase in humanitarian needs across the West Bank and Jerusalem. The families that were relatively stable financially had now dropped below the poverty level, unable to secure their basic needs nor secure the tuition fees for their children, which poses challenges on the educational system and its ability to absorb this financial burden. We were able to support over 700 families in tuition fees to keep their children in school. We were able to provide social and humanitarian aid to hundreds of families and recently provided cash assistance through MPCA for 500 families. The situation is escalating and the needs are increasing, yet life should go on despite the extra challenges imposed by the current crisis. Supporting persons with disabilities is one of our main focus areas. This sector is overlooked for other rising priorities in the country. We empowered persons with disabilities themselves to start their own micro-projects, and they became the supporters of their families rather than being a burden to the family as traditionally seen. And we are currently working with another 20 persons with disabilities and their families to take the same step and start their own income-generating project. We kept our support ongoing to the elderly at our elderly daycare center and engaged the youth volunteers in an intergenerational initiative to reduce the gap between the two generations. And also they will advocate for the elderly rights to live in dignity. We're moving on with this initiative for new locations, given the positive impact that it had on both youth and elderly. Despite all the challenges, we will continue with our efforts to respond to the increasing needs, and at the same time, will empower individuals and groups to become more resilient during crisis and contribute to community stability.
Life in Palestine has never been easy, and the war certainly didn't make it any easier. This situation we are going through has affected our lives in the West Bank on so many levels. Towns have been divided by checkpoints, making it almost impossible to travel, leaving us with no other option than to work remotely. Permits haven't been provided to the people of Palestine to work in the occupied Palestinian territory, leaving most of those who had secure jobs in Jerusalem and North Palestine jobless and incomeless. And the inflation has left people in Palestine struggling to provide basic needs for their families. That also has to do with the fact that most of our agricultural lands have been destroyed or confiscated by the occupational forces, and those of the items we import from our neighboring countries haven't been easy to come by either. As a development department, we take it as our responsibility to expand our projects and interventions, hoping that we would help provide as many people as possible with much needed jobs to help maintain the dignity of all humans in our society.
The human suffering in Gaza continues. There is no clean water, solid waste is everywhere, destruction is ongoing, diseases are spreading all over Gaza, and there are no safe corridors for delivering basic necessities. We continue as Caritas to call for an immediate and sustained ceasefire, protection for civilians and aid workers, and providing safe humanitarian corridors alongside easing the pressure on the West Bank. As our faith calls us, we will remain committed to pursuing peace while advocating for justice.